This is VOCM Open Line. Call 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626. The views and opinions of this program are not necessarily those of this station. The biggest conversation in Newfoundland and Labrador starts now. Here's VOCM Open Line host Paddy Daly.
Well, all right, and good morning to you. Thank you very much for tuning into the program. It's Thursday, December the 4th. This is Open Line. I'm your host, Paddy Daly. David Williams, he's the producer. Let's get it going. If you're in the St. John's metro region, the number to dial to get in the queue and on the air is 709-273-5211. Elsewhere, toll-free long distance, 1-888-590-VOCM, which is 8626. So for baseball fans, specifically Blue Jays fans, watching the game with the absolute brilliant trio of broadcasters, Dan Shulman, Buck Martinez, and Hazel May. Hazel May yesterday was told she's the winner of the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum's 2025 Jack Graney Award to recognize a member of the media who's made significant contributions to baseball in Canada throughout their life's work. Hazel's terrific. She really is, with the on-field interviews and commentary, then some of the interviews that she does with the players and managers, what have you. So she joins a pretty illustrious list of broadcasters. Let's go back and have a look at some of these. Dave Van Horn, Tom Cheek, Ernie Harwell. What else do I got here? Joey Howarth, Jeff Blair, Dan Shulman, Buck Martinez, and now Hazel May. Congratulations. I love Hazel, I have to say. All right, and the Newfoundland Rogues. Familiar face as the new bench boss, Doug Partridge. Got hired by the Rogues to be their head coach. He's been involved in basketball at various levels for about 40 years. Longest stint as the head coach of Memorial University's women's basketball team. He was there for 23 years, left the university with the leader in victories, over 450 wins, 7 AUS titles, a national bronze medal back in 2007, 5-time AUS Coach of the Year, 2-time Sport of the Nell Provincial Coach of the Year, 2013 Canadian Inter-University Sport National Coach of the Year, and now behind the bench for the Rogues. That's an interesting hire, to say the very least. Oh, and a quick hockey note as we're bouncing around here. It was on this date, December the 4th, 1909. The Montreal Canadiens were founded. So the team is the oldest surviving professional hockey franchise in the world. At that time became a charter member of the National Hockey Association, then later joined the NHL in its inaugural season in 1917. The Habs founded on this date, 1909. All right. So yesterday, certainly in this neck of the woods, the first real snowfall with any kind of accumulation. And boy, oh boy, are people already jumping on the snow clearing is terrible bandwagon. I mean, I only traveled the Outer Ring Road and a little bit of the East End to get home. Come to work and go home. I didn't go anywhere else yesterday, so I don't really know what it was like elsewhere. But it was pretty tricky in places where I was. Kelsey Drive was a mess when I left here yesterday to go home. So if you want to chime in on it, and of course those who are left on the outside looking in on the 24/7 snow clearing, they're pretty active in my email inbox, and they're welcome to join us live on the program. So I keep getting asked as to why the 14 routes chosen were the ones that were chosen. And I mean, I can't justify it. I don't have any say in those types of decisions. But we're told that they were the most traveled routes that are going to see this initial 24/7 snow clearing. Has it come to pass yet? Not according to a caller we had yesterday. And in addition to that, I did hear Minister Pettin on with the news team talk about the fact that one of the worries with this expanded winter maintenance program was trying to hire 50 operators, 25 part-time, 25 full-time. Apparently, the minister says they're pretty positive and encouraged with the response to the posting at this point, so it's a good thing. But if you want to bring forward your concerns on that front, and of course you have many. In addition to that, look, I know buying winter tires can be expensive. You know, like in the province of Quebec, for instance, it's mandatory to have winter tires on your vehicle. And around here, it's not mandatory, of course, and people will have the discussion about regular winter tires or studded tires, which is a relatively interesting conversation. But is it time to mandate snow tires? And look, I can't be talking with any real authority here because my snow tires are not on the vehicle yet. I had to wait for an appointment. It's not till next week. But boy, oh boy, a vehicle with a front-wheel drive Tucson coming out of the North Atlantic parking lot to try to get on Kelsey yesterday with obviously all seasons on, and no luck. Couldn't get up that tiny little hill to get out of that gas station. So is it time to have that conversation? In addition to that, someone sent me a picture and some thoughts or concerns about a commercial delivery van at a Costco yesterday where he got close enough and spoke to the driver, took a picture of the tires, and they're absolutely bald. bald, 100% baloney skins, regardless if they were winter or all seasons, going nowhere in a hurry, spinning their wheels. You asked the driver, why are you out with the bald tires on? And the driver told him that, well, the boss said, either get in the vehicle or you're fired. What? I mean, for a commercial delivery van, and it's one of those big cube vans, so pretty important for that to have some positive traction here in the winter conditions, but the tires were absolutely bald, not a tread to be seen. And I'll throw out the mandatory vehicle inspection as well, because there's plenty of you-know-whats out there. All right. Did have a call yesterday about the rules of the road, specifically on the Outer Ring Road. And I won't get into the nitty-gritty of the call, but oh man, did it ever result in a flood of emails? And a few people took painstakingly detailed approach to the Highway Traffic Act and what it actually says regarding the Outer Ring Road, which is, yes, the highway. If the whole thought was about whether or not you belong in the right-hand lane and only in the left-hand lane to either exit or to pass. And it's, keep right unless you're passing. And that's absolutely the rules apply to the Outer Ring Road, as I thought. And the caller disagreed with me, which is perfectly fine and acceptable in my mind that you don't agree with what I think or say. But this person broke it down all the way into the nitty-gritty. So if you're on the Outer Ring Road beginning at Logie Bay Road, you're on the highway. Stay right unless you're passing. All right, so we're still looking for some updated information. Apparently this afternoon at 2 p.m., Helen Conway-Ottenheimer, the Minister of Justice and Public Safety, will give us an update as to what's going on with some of the suspended court proceedings. It doesn't include criminal court, which is a good thing, but civil hearings, traffic hearings, Contraventions Act adjourned indefinitely in St. John's, Grand Falls, Windsor, and Stephenville. The quote is, court operations will be monitored to ensure optimal service during these challenging times. Channel and Port of Bass Circuit suspended after December 5th. All those matters moving to Stephenville Provincial Court. Bay Vert Circuit Court suspended. Cases moving to Grand Falls, Windsor Provincial Court. The Mental Health Court in St. John's, an Intimate Partner Violence Prevention Court in Stephenville, and Grand Falls, Windsor will move to bi-weekly schedules. You hear some lawyers being quoted in some of the news stories I've seen, they're gobsmacked, and talking about, it's frankly difficult to imagine a more extreme measure that the courts could take. That comes from Lynn Moore, of course, a partner at Moore Law Firm and former Crown Attorney. It's a pretty important conversation. We did have a call yesterday by someone wondering what they need to do to have their case adjudicated. It's an excellent question. You have to think it's probably something to do with staffing, but I guess we'll have a detailed explanation from Minister Conway-Ottenheimer at 2 o'clock this afternoon. We'll bring you the information when we get it. And in the world of patently obvious, the Newfoundland Labrador Medical Association also in the news talking about staffing. This from Dr. Cynthia Slade, the president at the NLMA. Talking about wait times, staff shortages, the number of people that are moving to emergency rooms for care because they don't have access to primary care. It all sounds like the blatantly obvious stuff. But some of the things, like when we see wait times and we talk about surgeries being postponed and those types of things, it always feels to me that, for instance, if we get it right in long-term care, it will go a long way to helping hospital operations. Because I don't know how many people, but plenty of people in a hospital bed that belong in a long-term care bed. And then you thought, people are told, well, there's not a bed upstairs. There's probably a bed, a physical bed, but not the staff to accommodate a patient to be in that bed. So it all felt like pretty obvious stuff to me. But of course, emergency wait times are going to be through the roof when people can't get access to a primary care physician and or nurse practitioner, for instance. And of course, the reminder of the story that was out last week, 500,000 Canadians left emergency rooms after lengthy waits without even seeing a doctor first or last. So they're back in the news. There was a conversation between former president at the NLMA, Dr. Stephen Major, and Russell Bowers this morning about the use of artificial intelligence when you visit your doctor. So basically just transcribing your voice into note form for the doctor to save some administrative time that doctors spend an awful lot of time doing exactly that as opposed to seeing patients. People have privacy concerns. So I only kind of heard the conversation as I was getting prepared for this show. But since that interview took place this morning on the morning show, got plenty of people talk about privacy. Don't like the thought of having a microphone in the room taping their conversation with their doctor about some obviously very private stuff. But if that's a concern you share, and I don't know how big a deal it might be, but I haven't experienced it yet, but privacy concerns when it comes to our medical information is obvious. All right, let's go down under Australia. As of December the 10th, there will be a formal legal ban for Australia's youth to be using social media. And it is wide sweeping. Here are some of the social media platforms on the government's initial list. And this for users under the age of 16. Instagram, Facebook, Threads, YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, Twitch, Twitter, Reddit, Kick, and tapping AI to verify. So this is all about trying to go down the path to keep young people from the online harms, cyberbullying and otherwise. Child sex pictures, child sex luring. There's a variety of issues that youth are absolutely falling prey to. So is that a good idea? Does that constitute government overreach? Or is this a step in the right direction? In the long term, will this prove to be beneficial for Australia's youth? There's plenty of fun and enjoyment to be had online on social media platforms, but there's plenty of terrible things out there. Is this a good idea? It is going to be a potential disaster when you talk about trying to verify age, because what they're going to do is require things like snapshots of your driver's license, a picture of your face to be analyzed by artificial intelligence and compared and contrasted to government records, what have you. So it might open up Pandora's box on the other side. But man, oh man. You know, I read a story from one of the American broadcasters last week that talked about the rates of anxiety and depression for youth who have a smartphone before the age of 12. So there's a lot of things here to really carefully consider. Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of fun to be had on many of these platforms. I only personally use Facebook and Twitter. I don't use Instagram or Threads. I sometimes have a peek at YouTube, I suppose. But are they on the right track? I mean, the research is becoming pretty clear about the negative impact that some of these social media sites are having on youth. I mean, look no further than increased rates of anxiety and depression if your child has a smartphone before the age of 12. And I know it's tough when your mom or dad and your child wants these phones because why? Because everyone else has them. So there's a legitimate bit of peer pressure here and parental pressure. And yes, there's some connectivity concerns that it'd be nice to know your kid, if they find themselves in trouble, have a phone in their hand to call for help, call you, call 911, call whatever. But Australia and the ban, which comes next week, December the 10th, for all of those aforementioned platforms on social media, I tend to think they're on the right track, but what do you think? And we wonder when the government's going to revisit some of the issues regarding the Online Harms Act that was proposed here in the country, Bill C-63. There is a modicum of overreach feel to it as well. But some of the harmful content that is being a huge problem for adults and children alike. But just think about the bullying that you experienced when you were growing up, where it would be face-to-face, maybe a bit of mob mentality kicks in, one bully turns into 3 or 4 because they want to get in on the action. But the concept of cyberbullying is unbelievable. And then it's some of these non-consensual intimate images and deep fakes. Things, the content that foments hatred, incites violence. Some of this is probably a really good idea, even though Bill C-63 felt like it went too far on some fronts. But the whole world of online, how we protect ourselves, is something else. Oh, and on that front, another scam. Got to make you aware. Feel like it's incumbent on us to share them when we see them. This one comes in the form of a text message. It says it's from the Newfoundland government informing you that your vehicle was registered at going 43 kilometers an hour in a school zone. You can pay the fine by clicking the link below. It's a scam. It didn't happen. Don't worry about it. Don't click any of those links, whether it be ServiceNL sending you a link that you have no idea what it's about, or CRA or Canada Post, and now the government saying that your vehicle was caught speeding 43 kilometers an hour in a school zone is yet another scam. So please do not fall for it, because who knows what's behind that particular link. All right, how we doing out there, Dave? Let's get going. All right, I saw this, and sometimes I scroll through the old crack book and have a look. And there was a post there from a resident of the North Shore, CBN. And this is about recovering from the wildfire, obviously. But it's not only about monies that were promised by different levels of government, but it's about the money that was fundraised from the general public. So apparently through all the different efforts and concerts and individuals simply going to the Red Cross site to make a donation, there's been millions of dollars raised. And so the question being asked is, where's the money? It's a pretty fair question. I mean, wildfire season is thankfully in the rear mirror for the most part, but all that money, it's one thing for government to move slowly, but quite another when individuals saw the disaster, saw the devastation, reached into their pocket, made a donation. People like musicians took to the stage with their own talents and efforts and time, and all this money raised millions of dollars, and people are wondering, where's the money? It's not unfair. And I know some of these charities, including the Red Cross, have done exemplary work. And they're right there every time there's these types of disasters, natural or otherwise. But folks up the North Shore are asking the question out loud, where is the money? And we're happy to ask it alongside all of those folks who are still reeling. I mean, just think about it. Over 200 structures lost, including X number of homes. A school is gone. And so that money that was raised, it'd be nice to know exactly where that money is, and I share your concern. So yesterday was the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. And we had a couple of good conversations, but people are asking me to get an update on the status of the Registered Disability Savings Program, which was supposed to begin in January of this year for those who qualify, and that's $1,200, which comes and triggers some matching federal funds. I know that the $400 per month for disabilities is flowing because people have told me that they've received it. But has the Registered Disability Savings Program kicked in? Is the money being deposited? I really don't know, because I don't qualify, so I don't have intimate knowledge of, but I'm told that the money has not flowed for those who are indeed eligible. So if you want to tell me about your experience, we can do it. And one experience we all share, going to the grocery store. So the annual forecast about what food prices might look like into 2026 is out. This is research from some 10 different universities across the country, talking about the price of groceries to increase between 4 and 6% next year, mostly driven by the price of meat. Beef is expected to get more expensive, potentially rising 7%. Cattle sizes are shrinking, and those markets, of course, susceptible to tariffs. So more ranchers are leaving the industry, and so the pressure's on. This comes in Canada's Food Price Report. Okay. Also, people moving to chicken. Chicken prices are also on the rise. And you talk about the middle of the grocery store, things like canned goods, what have you. They're not going to be left out on the outside either, because generally they've been pretty stagnant, those prices. They're forecasted to go up. So no relief in sight as far as we can tell regarding going to the grocery store. And none of this is surprising. It's like most everything else. When the prices go up, and as rapidly as they've gone up in this country, it's hard to vision or envision a time when they're going to come back to earth. I mean, even just the concept of a $5 item that was 500 grams is now $6 and it's 400 grams. That thing alone just drives me around the bend. But that's the forecasted prices in the grocery stores for next year. And that research has proven to be pretty accurate over the years, because we talk about it every year when this forecast comes out, and it's been pretty spot on. So there you go. All right, a couple of very quick ones before we get to you. The NDP are back in the news asking for the government of Newfoundland to either sign on to the National Farmer Care Act or at least tell us why we haven't. It's an excellent question. It'd be simple enough if the government simply said, okay, here's why we're not doing it at this moment in time. But currently, we have no earthly idea, and it's an important question. You talk about cost of living pressures. For somewhere between 33 and 35% of the province has diabetes or pre-diabetic, and supplies are expensive. So where are we on National Farm Care? We're already paying into it, so why aren't we able to avail of it? So on top of that, let's reopen the House of Assembly. Get some of these questions asked. Let's have more information about the Upper Churchill MOU and whatever this independent review is going to look like. So let's get the House reopened. We were told when all the MHAs were finally sworn in, the House would be reopened. The calendar at this moment in time simply says March the 2nd. We can't wait till then. There's a lot to be discussed, a lot of answers that we need on a variety of topics. Last one, promise. Today is the deadline to get in on the action of VOCM Care's annual 50-50 draw. Not only the 50-50 today, but there's a one-year lease of a CRV hybrid from Steel Honda. There's also a shop and stay at the Capitol Hotel and at the Avalon Mall, valued at about $1,200. The jackpot at this moment, there you go, $88,330. Historically, it goes up dramatically in the final day. So today is the day to help VOCM Cares do the great work they do in the community. Go to the website, vocmcares.ca, hit on the 50-50, take you to the raffle box, where you'll get an update on the jackpot. spot and a chance to buy a ticket. Tickets $10 each, but you get 3 for 20, 10 for 50, 25 for $100. So today is the last day to purchase. We're on Twitter or VSM Open Line. Follow us there. Email address is openline@vsm.com. My favorite is when you join us live on the program, just like Jack, who's going to kick it off, talk about education. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 2. Say good morning to Jack Rumbles, the grade 9 student at Menahek High School. Good morning, Jack. You're on the air.
Hey, Patty. How's it going today?
Really well today. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm just calling to talk about how excited I am and how happy I am that we finally got a music program in my school. It just makes me so happy. So, because last year we never had any music program for juniors. We only had one for seniors. But this year, all the administration were so amazing, and they got everything up and running. So it just makes me really happy to hear that.
Why? What makes you happy about it?
Because a lot of teenagers, they need music, and it's good for everyone's mental health, and it's just good for everyone because music is a big part of everyone's life. So it makes everyone really happy that we finally got something to look forward to in school.
I think it's great. You know, people will talk about reading and writing and arithmetic and just the basic core subject matter in school and the importance of, but music's important too. I mean, if you look at the research across the board, students who excel in music also have improved academic performance in other courses. There's lots to be said about mental well-being, as you pointed out, memory, focus, creativity, problem solving that comes with music. So I think it's hugely beneficial offering in school.
Yes, of course. And I'd like to give a huge thank you to all the teachers and all the staff and administration for everything that's happened so far with music. And the big show that happened last night at the Arts Culture Center. It was amazing. All the music students went. 2 kids from JRS went as well, and it was an amazing show. It was really great.
I'm glad to hear it, Jack. So what's involved in the music program? Are there bands like jazz bands and classical bands and choirs? So what is actually part of your program?
Yeah, so we got a band program this year. It's like an orchestra concert band. And we're going to be traveling to Halifax in April. So it's pretty big, and it's amazing for school.
What's happening in Halifax?
It's I'm pretty sure it's a festival. I'm not too sure about it, but it's a festival that's happening in Halifax, and a lot of orchestras are going. And I'm a huge part of that. I play percussion, and it makes me really happy just to get to play music in school. It's something to look forward to.
Yeah, and it just pops in my mind, you know, when you're part of a band or an orchestra or a choir, there's also that concept of teamwork. You know, it's good social skills stuff, too, when you talk about being a member of an orchestra or a band or whatever the case may be. So you play percussion. What percussion?
It's really a matter of what song. I just get put on either bass drum, snare drum, mallets, whatever. I can play whatever you need me to, pretty much. So.
What about access to instruments?
We got last year before the school year started, they did a huge instrument drive and got a lot of instruments. So I have to say there's a really great access to instruments. And they were all donated from the community, so it was really great.
Yeah, good for you guys. I'm pleased to hear this. Oh, who's the music teacher?
Miss Carrie McPhee and Jack Brennan.
Lovely. Jack, I'm glad you're enjoying it, and I'm glad music has been reborn at Menahek High School. Anything else you want to talk about this morning while we have you?
No, that should be it. I'm just really thankful that this has come about for our school because it makes a lot of kids happy, and it makes me really happy.
Good also. For you.
So,
how you doing in other courses at school?
I'm doing just fine, if I have to say so myself. So.
And this is not necessarily about school, but while I have a grade 9 student on the line here this morning, I was talking earlier about social media and youth. And in Australia, they're going to ban social media for youth under the age of 16. Is social media a positive or a negative in your world?
It can be either or, honestly, because it's good to connect. It's good socially because you don't have to always be around someone to talk to them. But for me, honestly, it's been more negative than positive because I've had a lot of like online like cyberbullying situations and just a lot of not the greatest experiences with social media, but it makes a lot of people's life easier, but I'm not saying that it makes a lot of youth's life better. It makes life easier, but not better.
Good to have you on the show, Jack. Appreciate your time, and congratulations on the music program.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for your time, Patty.
My pleasure. Take good care.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, bye-bye. There we go. It's a pretty good conversation. Grade 9 student Jack Rumbold, Manheck High. All right, and I just mentioned, what percussion, and I saw an email float in the corner of my eye. It's drum. I know what percussion is, but there's lots of different things that fall into percussion, and there's lots of different drums between a snare and a bass and a timpani, cymbals, a xylophone is percussion. What else pops in my mind there? Bongos, bells, tambourines, marimbas. That's all percussion, right? That's why I asked. All right, let's get a break in right on time at 9:30. When we come back, topic up to you. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go. Line number 2. Stan, you're on the air.
Hi, Betty.
Hi there.
I'm talking about the road conditions in St. John's yesterday.
Okay.
And I think you had somebody on from St. John's, I think it was yesterday, and you're talking about to him about the equipment, and he says, all geared up, got people hired since October. Mm-hmm. Well, I was talking to people that came up from the Costco building, all Eastern Health got taken over now, and you never seen a plough on the road for deplorable. That was 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, my travels...
So if they're all geared...
Go ahead.
If they're all geared up, where was the equipment to?
Good question.
Yeah, I don't know if there were any more complaints about St. John's yesterday. I wasn't very far. I only come out tops of the road far as Dodge City, but I think that's Mount Pearl area there, and that wasn't the best either. And, you got all that stuff in the middle of the road there. It's almost like a slush. And that's worse than a foot of snow.
Absolutely. It's the slipperiest stuff, too.
They didn't show up anyway.
Well, like I said earlier, my travels were pretty limited. Kenmount Road was pretty good, but Kelsey Drive was terrible. I mean, at the intersection there, right by the North Atlantic, to try to make a left to go continue down Kelsey, it was nothing but slush, and it was slick. Outer Ring Road was pretty good. I was down Torbay Road, wasn't bad, but my little city neighborhood wasn't touched. I didn't see a plow on my street until maybe around 4:30.
Yeah, I don't know. They're all geared up all right, but I don't know where they showed up to. They didn't show up where they should have.
Yeah, well,
that's my little beef for this morning, buddy. You know, I just want people passed on to complain to me, not for me to phone. They just told me what the conditions they went through. I didn't have to go through it very much yesterday, but it was enough on tops of the road. But they're out in St. John's, and, we know St. John's don't clear snow as good as Mount Pearl do.
We hear that all the time, and it's probably true, but now, in fairness, it must be a lot easier to clear snow in Mount Pearl than it is in St. John's, given how flat Mount Pearl is and how wide the roads are, and versus the city. The city must be a nightmare for snowplow operators.
Oh, yeah, I know that. But like I said, when someone gets on, I wouldn't say they're blowing their own horn, but getting on and saying, we're all geared up, we got people hired since October, and here's the first bit of snow we get. Good thing we never got 30 centimetres.
Yeah.
Where would we be to today? Yeah. Anyway, my dear, that's my complaint for today.
Appreciate your time, Stan.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I didn't think it was too bad where I went, and I admit I didn't go too far yesterday, but I thought Kelsey was terrible. The rest of it was best kind as far as I could tell, but snow clearing in the city of St. John's, yeah, we hear the Mount Pearl comparison all the time, but just think about the inner city of St. John's and the hills and these tight little neighborhoods. It's got to be a lot trickier to clear this city than it would be Mount Pearl itself, right? Yeah, I think so. Let's keep going. Line number 3. Linda, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm just going to take you off speaker.
Okay.
I'm just calling now about accessibility for like wheelchairs, going to a venue where like some places I can go to, there'll be 20 or 30 seats because you can bring a wheelchair and the attendant gets in for free. Mm-hmm. Now I was just made aware of, and I checked it out the last couple of days to make sure I had my facts right. There's a place in St. John's, and I won't mention the name, they have one. and it's a new building.
You can mention it. I've seen it all over social media. So you're talking about the Jag Soundhouse.
Yes, okay. I wasn't going to mention it.
Yeah, and that's okay, but it's a public venue, and, we don't need to avoid it. Look, I was a little surprised, because this was a concert I Mother Earth, I think, was the concert that people went to, where I saw the posting on social media. It got shared far and wide, so I'm sure they've been made aware of it, and I was surprised. Okay. So just for context, I've been to the Jag Soundhouse. Beautiful venue. Absolutely brilliant stuff.
We've been there as well, but we went to the ground floor where he just sat in his wheelchair. I wasn't aware there's only one spot.
Yeah, and so that's in the concert hall itself, which holds about 1,600 people.
1,600.
Yeah. So I was really surprised. But it's interesting, Linda, because I've been there many times, and I never noticed the accessibility issue. But that just goes to the fact that unless you have a disability, you probably don't recognize some of the hurdles people face. So
exactly, because we went to the Codco. And a friend of mine was in the wheelchair. My husband wasn't with me, but she had to sit in the aisle next to us. So I'd say that the accessibility one was already sold.
Yeah. We'll invite someone from JAG on to talk about it and what they're going to do about it, because we're talking about a significant percentage of the population that may indeed not be able to go to the venue for just that one reason alone. I do know some of the other accessibility issues, because I read the very lengthy post where the person was...
too.
Yeah, and they were talking about things like the bathrooms in the hallways, and maybe the carpet was tricky to navigate in a wheelchair, those types of things. But it was the concert hall itself was the prime concern.
Yeah. But I mean, even the bathroom, she couldn't even turn her wheelchair around.
Yeah.
So, and for I figured all this has to be passed by the city for codes and whatever. But how did that get passed?
I don't know.
Understand.
And I don't know what the code might be either for the number of spaces at a concert venue, wherever we're talking about, from Holy Heart to Mary Brown's to the Arts and Culture Centre.
Yeah. Mary Brown's got about 30.
Oh,
Never ever have a problem getting a ticket.
Yeah, okay.
So they have 30, because I actually looked into it to see how many people had before I said I was going to call in.
Yeah, the radio's on in the background. That's okay. Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering. I just said I want to put it out there, and I know it's been all over the media because I've seen it myself, but it's disgusting. So
it's not good enough. I agree with you. We'll follow up and see if there's going to be any changes made to accommodate more spaces. No problem there.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I appreciate your time, Linda. Thank you.
And Merry Christmas.
Same to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, just for clarification, sometimes when there are issues regarding one company or another where we might not have all of the facts in hand, then that's why I think we protect you as the caller and the company as well, this company as well, because if things are defamatory and they prove not to be true, that can be a problem, especially for the caller. So that's why we kind of hauled some names out. But when something is well understood and it's not in the air of unfairness and there's no defamation associated with it, then we try to be as open and as transparent as we can. But there are some limitations that are legal concerns, and that is also for the listener. So when we don't have all the details, we don't have, say, the so-called other side of the story, then that's where I think we should all be careful with putting company names out there or individual names out there. That's sort of the background of that stuff. Let's go to line number 2. Caller, you're on the air. Hi, line number 2. Caller.
Hello.
Hi there.
Yes, well, how are you doing today, Paddy?
Best kind. How about you?
Not bad at all, but Paddy, I just got a couple of comments on snow clearing in St. John's. My thing about it all is that I think just the people are expecting too much. We only had a couple of inches of snow down. There's more traffic on the road than it ever was. There's subdivisions here with too many cars. The way the city got it all lined up for the parking, the bicycle lanes. Cars are sticking out of the driveways, got garbage buckets on the street. And the traffic, everybody, every Tom, Dick and Harry got a car. They're only 17 years old and they're driving around. There's 3 and 4 cars to a household. And they're going bumper to bumper. And when they're on the road, we got the big plows, the wing plows. We got it all to do the snow clearing. But if you can't get around, you can't go out all night long and work. So I don't know what people are expecting at all. And the other couple of days ago, you had a councillor on. And I worked at snow clearing for 30 years. And I was pretty good at it, I'll tell you the truth. And there's lots of good guys around, and some guys that are just no good. But he had a councillor on trying to explain, the city of St. John's, explain what snow clearing is. Sure, he was probably driving taxi or something before that, but he didn't know what he was talking about.
The councillor himself didn't know?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a lawyer. He's actually a lawyer by trade.
That makes it worse again. But I just don't see these guys. You got fellas that are snow clearing, the foreman. Now the foreman can't get on and hand that guff off that he was talking about, saying about which way to do it and how we got men trained and we got that's so farce. It's not even funny. They only hire the guys, they put them on, they do the best job they can. Nothing against the council themselves, but when you've got a councillor on talking about something he knows nothing about, the men know it, and there's some men that are not good. So, I just think that the residents themselves are expecting too much. You go up and Kenmount Terrace, I mean, there's more cars up there. It's like the Village Mall or the Avalon Mall parking lot up there. You can't get around. So I mean, I don't know what they're expecting about. That's all. That's the only thing I'm thinking about, right?
I get that. It's all personal perspective, right? So I don't, generally speaking, have a big problem with the approach that the city takes to snow clearing, but you make an interesting point. Is some people want it to be perfect exactly when they leave the house. And is that expectation realistic? I'll leave it up to the individual, but it's an interesting point that, people want what they want when they want it. There's a little air of petulance amongst the tax-paying public here. I suppose I include myself in that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's impossible to be out, and soon as they're throwing their snow out, blowing their snow, and they got snow blowers, they're blowing it all out in the street. Just as you go by, the council goes back and pushes it back in again. So what do you do? And the biggest thing came out Terrace. I said, my God, the night up, they got the bicycle lanes. I don't see anybody on the bicycles using the lanes at all. And now people got to park the car halfway out in the street. They leave the sidewalk open because the inspectors are going around or whomever giving tickets for parking on the street, and there's no bicycles in the winter time. And regardless, with the bicycle lanes, it's great in a great world that that you're just going in somewhere in some big open piece of land, and you decide to build 500 houses, and you can have bicycle lanes. You got the houses that if it's 50 feet back off the street, well, they got a parking lot that works fine. But I mean, you got to go in and out around every turn, nick and cruddy, trying to get around, and then you got snow plows in the winter time, trying to push the snow back. And there's in one driveway they got 4 cars, and next one 4 cars, and they got apartments everywhere, which is a great thing. But there's just not enough of parking for those apartments. But regards to the councillors getting on, the people know nothing about it. It's like getting a plumber to explain what an electrician does. So I mean, it don't make sense. Don't make sense at all. Anyway, that's my ramble for the day, right?
So you were an equipment operator for 30 years, working for the city, or is that what you meant?
I worked around, yeah. I worked for the city, so yeah, for a long while, and we had some great men. But now, it's and they got better machines. I know that now, but the machines are bigger. But there's more traffic, there's more buses, more. I mean, you take school buses here, there's 300 school buses on the street. I mean, driving around, and you got umpteen cars going around. So I just don't see it. I just can't see it. People are expecting too much. They're expecting too much. I mean, I was driving around today. Sure, there's more people on their cell phones, snow clearing. I don't get it. I don't see it. And how did the police miss this? I don't know. But every second person is on the cell phone, and we got snow clearing on the go, and then the guys are trying to get in around the cul-de-sacs, and you go up there, sure, there's a load of cars, and so That's my take on it all. But the city people are expecting too much, and then on the radio themselves, the people that are calling in about snow clearing, trying to explain it like that. If that guy was a liar, I won't get him as a liar. I just don't see it.
Appreciate the time. Thanks for calling.
No sweat, pal.
All the best.
Good job, Paddy. Bye.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye. Look, one thing for sure, regardless of what we're talking about, this city is not designed for the vehicle flow that's out there. The traffic volume is simply not designed for the many vehicles that you see on the roads. That's for absolute sure. All right, let's get a break in. When we come back, we're speaking with you. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go. Line number 2. Kathy, you're on the air.
Good morning, Patty.
Hi.
Hi. I'd just like to throw out a bouquet to the snowplow operators. My brother happened to be a snowplow operator. He's not with us anymore, but I know exactly what they have to go through, nowadays. And, well, he's not here now, but we lived through it, his family, and, they spend a lot of time during the most special time of the year away from their family. I know they signed up for it, like firefighters and, nurses, doctors, whatever. It's a profession, but they don't get enough recognition. And your last caller, he knows what he's talking about. I don't know who he is, but, I like people complaining too much.
Don't I know it? Look, I mean, I had a neighbor, I don't know, say 20 years ago before I moved to the house I'm in now, that this person was constantly either throwing snow at or giving the finger to or yelling at and cursing at the snowplow operators because, of course, they finish shoveling and then, the timing is everything. Here comes the plow and the wing roll gets into the driveway. It's just a natural occurrence. I think we all expect that to be happening. But he used to give it to the snowplow operator. I couldn't understand it. I mean, Buddy, in this case, was a fella. He was simply doing his job. Got the blade down, trying to clear the snow. So...
the best, yeah. And I mean, you take it like Shea Heights and different places, like you say, Kenmount Road, all these places, they're pretty tricky, and I just like to say, boys, keep up the good work.
Fair enough, Kathy.
Don't let everybody get you down, it's that time of the year, and right, so I just like to say that, keep up the good work.
I appreciate your time, Kathy, and I'm sure the snowplow operators appreciate it too.
Okay. Bye-bye, Patty, and
Bye.
Merry Christmas to you and everyone at VFCM.
The very same to you. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And just quickly, so I was mentioning different types of percussion or different instruments in the arena of percussion, and Fergus reminds me the boron is also one, because of course it is. And lots of people really enjoyed hearing from Jack Rumble this morning, with the positive experience and the kudos to the teachers and administrators for getting the music program back in action. So I enjoyed it as well, to be honest. Let's go to line number 1. Patty, you're on the air.
Hey, Patty, how you doing?
Not bad at all.
I think I've been listening about the guys who are on remand and whatever, and they're spending a lot of time at the His Majesty's Penitentiary. Is there a solution for it, do you think, Patty?
Well, you have to build a bigger, newer prison.
Well, how's about having a night court?
What would that settle or solve?
Well, it costs more. You get more cases through the court, wouldn't it?
Night courts are, generally speaking, just for summary offences in traffic and violation of municipal bylaws and that kind of stuff. I know there's very few jurisdictions in Canada that actually have a night court. I know Halifax does have one, but we don't have one here. So just look no further than the fact that we've suspended court operations in different parts of the province for reasons unknown at this point. So if it's a staffing issue, I don't know how we could have a night court in addition to the day operations.
Look, some of them spend so much time in rehab. I never heard of anybody getting out on the Jordan rule.
There's been a couple of cases dropped here regarding the Jordan application, yeah.
I haven't heard of it, though, but yeah, okay. Well, I just wondered that, because, I thought it would help get more cases through the court, and if Halifax got one, why can't we have one?
Yeah, I don't really know. I suppose it's a cost and staffing issue. But generally speaking, night courts aren't for any sort of serious criminal matters, though. Summary offences, municipal bylaws, that kind of stuff.
I think the Minister of Justice should be one to look at something like that.
Well, I guess we're going to hear, not on this program at least, but Helen Conway-Attenheimer, the Minister of Justice and Public Safety, is going to be giving us a detailed update, we hope, about the court operations that have been suspended in different parts of the province. That happens this afternoon. Anything else you want to say while we got you, Paddy?
Yeah, can you brief her on that and see if she can have an answer for it?
Yeah, I can see what I can find out. Why not?
You can ask her about it and see
Sure.
if it's worthwhile or whatever.
Yep.
Because I know there's a lot of guys down to that penitentiary, like, waiting a long time to go to court.
Yeah, but the people that are on remand, they wouldn't appear in front of a night court judge, though, anyway, because my understanding of it is it's not for criminal offences. It's like Liquor Control Act and Motor Vehicle Act and breaking a municipal bylaw, those types of things. Like people who are bank robbers or convicted or charged with break and enter or murder or rape or extortion or those types of serious crimes, they wouldn't appear in front of a night court judge. Anyway, that's not how they're necessarily designed. But anyway, I'll ask the Minister, why not?
Maybe there's time to change it.
Maybe.
Okay, thanks, Paddy.
You're welcome. All the best.
Have a good one.
You too, pal. Bye-bye. Yeah, night court, generally speaking, is, for the less than serious criminal offences to be heard by a judge, and it was also a very good show. Sure, Dave is going to give us some sort of jingle into the news. Let's check in on the Twitter box before we get to said news break. Tony says, snow clearing is an ungrateful occupation. Streets and roads got to be ploughed. If they're not, people complaining. If operators push snow back, if it's in your driveway, people complain. You're absolutely right. And that one neighbour, boy, I was always confused because it was a pretty pleasant fella until it came to the snowplow operator. I don't know if he had some sort of negative interaction with a snowplow, akin to being bit by a dog when you're a kid and you hate dogs all your life, but he'd flip out every time the plow went up and down the street. Let's check in on the email address. It's open at VOCM.com. Really appreciating people's positive feedback regarding the call from grade 9 student Jack Rumbold to kick off the program. All right, so let's get to the news break. When we come back, there's always been concern about foreign ownership. Generally speaking, people talk about foreign ownership inside the fishery, the processing sector specifically. Rod wants to talk about foreign ownership inside the mining industry. That and then you right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 3. Good morning, Rod. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir. How are you today?
I'm great today. How about you?
Oh, number one. Patty, the reason why I'm calling this morning is that the mining sector, the mineral industry, has been, into pretty good times lately. Prices for a number of commodities and products are gold in particular, silver, lots of the rare earths, minerals, others that are considered critical or strategic in that, language that they use now to describe some of the commodities that the mining industry produces. Mm-hmm. And there used to be a mine out by Glenwood called the Beaverbrook Antimony Mine. Antimony is one of those minerals that is deemed to be critical because of its applications, things that it's used in, like high temperature electronics, used as a flame retardant. It has a lot of military applications. When the mine was closed in 2023, the rationale given at the time was that market conditions. And of course, that happens in mining. It's a commodity, what have you, prices rise, prices fall. But I'm wondering if it's going to reopen again or what's holding it up. I haven't heard any talk of, the owners looking to reopen.
I think antimony is the key ingredient of solder as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, exactly. That's like high temperature electronics.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So when the mine closed in 23, antimony prices were fluctuating somewhere around $5-6 a pound. Guess what they are today, what they have been, and rising to this past 18 months or so?
I have no idea.
$20 to $25 a pound. In other words, 4 to 5 times the price that it was when it was in 2023. Like, it's at prices now that we've never seen in the last 20 years. So my mind goes to work and say, well, who owns it? And given that it's a critical mineral, I understand that a corporation called China Min Metals owns the antimony mine. And I know that in the last 6 months to 24 months, we've heard an awful lot of discussion about, Chinese companies acting on behalf of China, finding and taking ownership of a lot of these mineral entities, ones that are deemed like rare earths, critical, strategic, what have you. They've been acquiring them. And so my mind goes to say, the question that I ask is that, well, why aren't they opening it up, or why aren't they selling it? If it's of no use to them, why sit on it?
It's an interesting question. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I know some big Chinese mining companies have been forced to divest because of federal legislation. There's a Foreign Investment Act. So things like uranium, lithium, those types of rare earths, China's been forced to divest in some of those mines in different parts of the country. But foreign ownership in mining is widespread in this province.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. And I don't usually care. You know what I mean? As long as they abide by the regulations and our labor laws, and they give workers a good deal and so on and so forth, then I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. But I am strongly against someone owning it and sitting on it because it suits some strategic purpose halfway around the world. I mean, when this mine was in operation, it was anywhere from 100 to 200 workers, depending on the stages and phases that it was at. And that would be a very big shot in the arm for central Newfoundland, for rural Newfoundland. Anytime that you can have something of significance like that operating in private hands and generating employment and driving off activity for suppliers and other people and stuff like that, it should be in operation if the market conditions are suitable. And I believe that they are more than suitable at this point in time, and I'd like to know why they're sitting on it and not doing anything. And to that end, I would... Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, can you give me the name of the mine again so I can follow up?
China Min Metals Corporation.
And what's the name of the mine proper here that got shut down, the antimony mine?
Well, it used to be known as the Beaver Brook Antimony Mine.
Okay.
Now, like you can ask. I mean, you could certainly ask somebody in charge, somebody who's oversees, the mineral industry in this province, and ask them. Maybe they've received some kind of indication or notification that they're going to reopen, and if that's the case, great. I'm a cheerleader for anything that drives employment in rural Newfoundland. But if they're sitting on it, and the market conditions are obviously saying that they should be in production, then I don't agree with that. Something should be done, and maybe a fallow field tax, something like I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I do not like the idea that there's a economical entity there that could be driving employment, but is instead being used for an ulterior purpose in this wider strategic game of world domination and all the rest of it.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference in foreign ownership depending on whether or not a country is a friendly. And in this case, China most certainly is not. And, just think about some of the big mining operations here. Vale is a Brazilian company, right?
Yeah.
IOC, Rio Tinto is not a Canadian company, obviously. I believe they had their origins in the UK, maybe Australia. Tacora is not a local company either. That's a Dutch company. Tata Steel, that's an Indian company. So there's lots of foreign ownership. And I guess the difference would be whether or not a country is an actual friendly versus not, like a Russian company or Chinese or whatever the case may be. That's an interesting question, Rod. I am going to chase that a little bit and see what's going on, because if it was a business model problem at, now the price is at 5 times what it was when they laid off all those folks back in 2023, it's a very interesting question. I think the same type of question can be asked of some offshore parcels of land that the bidder comes in through the CNLOPB and then has the opportunity to sit on it in perpetuity, in some cases, as long as they renew and pay little tiny fees. So that's a very good question, Rod. I had not thought of that, but I will give that a little chase.
Okay, buddy. You have yourself a good day.
Very same to you. Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye. Good question. We understand the concerns in the processing sector and the fishery, but you just pick some of the big mines. There's plenty of junior players around here that have opened up some mines on the island or in Labrador. Tata does work in the Labrador Trough, and that is absolutely an Indian company. I mean, maybe as much as 80% held by India. I believe IOC, we call Rio Tinto as the owners, but there's a bunch of players, including Mitsubishi and others that are involved with a pretty heavy equity stake in those companies. But that's an interesting one. We'll give that a little chase and see what becomes of it. And on that front, with the global conversations and the critical minerals and rare earth and all the rest, I am a little surprised, and I suppose it all boils back down to access to power to generate mine expansion or to open up new mines. So I guess that's what holds back most. And Takora, who operates Scully, I'm pretty sure they're a Dutch company, right? Anyway, let's see here. What am I looking at? Okay, if you're in and around town, the number to call to get in the queue is 709-273-5211. Elsewhere, toll-free long distance, 1-888-590-VOCM, which is 8626. We're taking a break, and then we're coming back. Welcome back to the program. Thanks to a couple of listeners sent in some additional information about the antimony mine out around Glenbrook, the Beaver Brook antimony mine. Yes, owned by a Chinese company. Apparently remains in care maintenance mode, so for regulatory issues and for safety, what have you. And also the reports are that they're actually exploring for new deposits to feed the mill. When they shuttered in 2023, after only reopening in 2021, they were talking about things like inflation and supply chain interruptions and the cost of fuel. Apparently, there's a high quantity of fuel required for their operations. They didn't budget for the high prices of fuels, so I guess that's what led to it. But, as Rod pointed out, if the prices now are 4 or 5 times higher than they were when they closed in 2023, you would imagine there's a business model available to them. So maybe into the future we'll see that reopen. Apparently at its peak employed some 110 people, so not an insignificant operation. Just quick reference to the story that we talked about earlier about Australia. Come to the 10th of December, legislation is going to see social media banned for youth under the age of 16. The email went something like this, is why am I encouraging more government interaction, more government telling me what I can and cannot do? As it pertains to youth, we already do that. There's a certain age before you can vote. There's a certain age before you can drive a car legally. There's a certain age before you can buy booze legally or marijuana legally. So I think it's different when you talk about things that are supposed to be protections for youth. And I do think this is just another layer of protection. I asked Jack Rumbold, a grade 9 student, about his own personal experience with social media. He says overall a net negative. And I think if we ask youth across the board, it's probably a very common sentiment that yes, you can have plenty of fun and post your fun videos on TikTok, but the negative for most, I think, outweighs the positive. So I don't know if it's, more government telling me what I can and cannot do, because if we see the research about even just the heights of anxiety and depression and other disorders and the type of cyberbullying and the child sex extortion rackets that are going on out there, the non-consensual sharing of intimate images, the deep fakes. I mean, these things are really difficult enough if you're an adult, but as a young person with going through different stages of life and still formative brain and going through puberty and all the public pressures, I don't think they're necessarily on the wrong track. I think for most people, if we're being honest, social media has proven to be a problem, and especially so for young people. Like, remember when you got bullied? If you did indeed get bullied, or you certainly saw instances of bullying. It was at school, it was down by the rock, and it was things like in the playground. But when you got out of the school setting, for the most part, the bullies went away. Because you were home, you were in your own neighborhood, you choose to spend time with your actual friends, but now it never goes away. It's never ending. And the ability or the willingness for people to pile on in the world of cyberbullying is very, very real. Even as an adult, I've been on the receiving end a few times. It's less than pleasant. So just imagine how it must impact someone who's 12 years old. All right, let's keep going here. Let's go to line number 1. Audrey, you're on the air.
Good morning, Patty.
Morning.
I just wanted to call back in. I know I was talking to you earlier the week about the whole situation around regulated childcare, but I really wanted to sort of highlight a few other things this morning. I'm a veteran ECE, been in the field for 35 years. I have to say that we don't make these decisions lightly when we invest our time, commitment, our family, our communities. When we make decisions to step forward, consider opening a regulated child care service in our homes, that those are really big life decisions. And I sort of, since last week, I guess, have really been in a position of limbo now. I'm sure I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one. So I just want to really highlight for government that these are huge life decisions that people are making in order to invest in a service, and now we're left literally in limbo.
Yeah, I mean, the story gets even worse when you talk about the fact that government understands this, they recognise this, and they say, well, the money to support the inspections and the opening and the renovations, things that need to happen to open up a childcare, whether it be in-home or other facility, is the money's gone. I mean, government can do something about it, and they can do something about it today. Like, if they keep telling us about they understand the need for accessible, affordable childcare and talk about the numbers of spaces that have been created, they say this year 1,470, but there's still hundreds, if not thousands of people looking for childcare. If it's simply a matter of money, replenish the pot and let's keep going.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, you know, when you start out in this process, it's very rigorous. Like, it's, you know, step-by-step phases. There's inspections. There's all kinds of pieces and parts that bring you to the actual day when you can open. And it's lengthy. Like, and especially in rural Newfoundland, it's probably even more lengthy because we're outside of, you know, catchment areas for some things, and it takes longer. And, you know, that's always been sort of in the back of my mind. So, again, when I'm sure that somebody somewhere knew that we were headed in this direction. So why were folks able to get 3 and 4 months into a process when we thought this was going to be, you know, the thing, the next step where our careers would take us, where families in our areas would be able to avail of childcare services? And then all of a sudden, like, you know, the axe comes down and it's nothing, literally nothing. So, you know, it just goes, I want folks to know, I want government to know that this is not just, you know, something that you conjure up and then you're like, okay, well, let's move forward. And in a couple of weeks, it's all said and done. It's absolutely not like that.
No, obviously now we've heard several stories from people who were proposing a childcare operation, whether it be here in town or out on the West Coast or in the Codroy Valley, and the stories were starting to pile up. And when you mentioned getting into this exercise, you're in it for 2, 3, 4 months, and then you're told that all of a sudden now the funding's gone, certainly someone who's in charge of administrating the funding could have foreseen how quickly the funds were being depleted and acted on it before all of a sudden people were told, oh, sorry, we're out of luck, we'll see you next April.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's where, you know, if they can replenish the pot, that's one thing. But I think going forward, I just want all the, you know, stakeholders, key stakeholders involved to know how much of a life-changing decision this is for folks. Like I said, I'm a veteran ECE. I've worked in many capacities within the childcare sector. And when you make a decision to open your home for a regulated service, it's a huge investment of your time, of your dollars, of your family commitments, of everything. And, you know, when it comes down, I never foresaw that this would be not able to happen for me or for the families that I was in constant contact with. I never thought. Did I think it would happen in the 6-month time frame? Absolutely. But if it didn't, then you know, obviously, you know, there's recommendations made from inspections and you know where you're going and all of those sorts of things. It's not like you're just left without any information, you know. So to get to this point now where it's like I'm starting over from scratch all over again, I just really want folks to know what that means for all of us caught in this whirlwind of no funding.
Yeah, and how many potential operators hearing this story was A, not even waste their time with it, or B, they're say 2-3 months into the process and think, well, April's a long way away, I'm just going to change my tune, I'm going to move on to some other endeavor with their time, their energy and their money, and consequently some spaces that could have been created might not get created simply because of this issue, which doesn't make any sense to me. I have to say, a lot of government stuff doesn't make any sense to me, but this one makes zero sense.
And that's exactly the fact. I was in correspondence with all of the key stakeholders and, you know, the powers that be for at least a month, maybe longer, before we got to this point. And one of the things that I had highlighted to them is that when families are in transition of moving from a maternity leave, paternity leave into employment, if that doesn't happen, especially for me out here in St. Mary's Bay, I don't know of anybody else in my area right now that's even invested or interested in doing regulated childcare, and I'm pretty much in the know. So if that doesn't happen now, it likely won't happen for quite some time. So these families are left to go seek out whatever it is they can find for childcare. But if, for example, again, because it's just, I'm speaking from my own perspective right now, if it's me and I go back to an employment situation elsewhere, it's gone. The dream is dead.
Yeah, and that's a shame. And it needn't be that way. Anything else you'd like to add while we have you, Audrey?
No, I think that's everything. You know, I've just been sitting on it since all this came to be and surfaced in the media. And I just really wanted to highlight for folks that this is a big deal. Like, it's a big deal not to be able to move forward, but it's a really big deal when you're so far into it and so invested that you actually don't get to proceed. It has huge implications and consequences for not just the person, communities, families, everything.
For sure.
And as a sector, we're hurting. ECE has always been a sector that has been on the back burner, for lack of a better word. We have made huge strides over the years. There's been lots of investments made, but I feel like we're going backwards now. I can see the hurt inside the sector from this very announcement.
How many children were you going to be able to take care of in your operation?
When you're regulated, you can take 6 children. Unregulated, you can only take 4. Okay. And there's other pieces of that whole program, like the $10 a day piece is what stands out to me. Without the regulated service, the parents can't access that. So they'd have to pay out of pocket, full price. And, you know, there's other things as a regulated level 2 certified ECE that you get to partake in. And there's layers to the program and the agreement. But so for right now, you know, and you're always taking a gamble to do it unregulated because families are obviously going to stay on regulated wait lists. Why would they not? So when the children get older, potential is that they'll move on. So there's no sustainability factor, especially in rural areas because you only have a certain number of families looking for childcare. So there's all kinds of little pieces that really factor into this.
Appreciate your time this morning, Audrey. Thanks for doing it.
You're welcome, Patty. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Yeah, it's just one of those head scratchers, right? Just quick on-air answer to an email is, oh boy, the writer is saying, where am I plucking these numbers out of the air about the projection for food prices next year? I'm not plucking them out of the air. There's an annual report. There's researchers from 10 different universities. They compile the data. They do the forecasts. They look at the supply chains, and it's called the Canada's Food Price Report. So I didn't make it up. I didn't just pluck the numbers out of the air. I'm going by exactly what the report states. And as I mentioned earlier, the report and their forecasts have been pretty close, I have to say, over the course of the last number of years. And, you know, we'll see the politicians chime in on it. And inevitably, governments get blamed for everything, and some of it's absolutely justifiable. The price of groceries, I think if you ask the agriculture industry, it's not only things like competition and competition inside the distribution chains, but it's fires and floods and droughts and insects. That has been the real interruption. You know, for sure, input costs and fertilizer and industrial carbon tax, you can factor those in. But the real interruptions are in some of these natural disasters. And that's the agriculture sector saying it, not me. But so, yeah, no, these are not made up numbers by yours truly. These are numbers I read in the Canada's Food Price Report. All right, let's get a break in. When we come back, the topic, entirely up to you. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Just to pick up on Audrey's call about the funding has run out for the startups in the world of childcare. And someone said, well, you know, government just can't pluck money out of thin air or print money or whatever the case may be. But they can. There's a contingency fund. I mean, just think back last year. They actually accessed, I think it was somewhere around $15 million from the contingency fund. Why? To cover unforeseen expenses in the world of children in provincial care. So we've done it repeatedly over the years, and that particular expense has drawn money from a contingency fund at least a half a dozen times. So yes, there is money there. Add to it is that whole futures fund. So we can't pretend that there's no way to replenish pots of money until you have a formal budgets produced. And in this case, we're talking about next April before that pot of money gets refueled. But there is money. It's as simple as that. So, yes, we can go to a contingency fund. Yeah, you can borrow against that futures fund. And I still, for the life of me, don't necessarily understand the futures fund concept. I mean, if we're servicing a massive deficit and a massive debt and massive borrowing, all the while putting money aside, it doesn't make a whole lot of economic sense to me. But yes, there's contingency fund monies out there. We've used them in the past, as recently as last year, for children in care. Let's go to line number 1. Andy, you're on the air.
Yes, Patty. How are you this morning?
Doing okay. How about you?
Not doing too bad. Just trying to get a few things sorted out with the town of Marystown.
What's going on?
Patty, back in 2022, my grandmother passed away, and she left me a property in the municipality of Marystown. There was $15,000 in back taxes owed. My poor old grandmother and grandfather, they struggled. And anyway, when I took over the property in 2017, I was power of attorney from that until the point where my grandmother passed. I've been trying to get the property changed over into my name. I went to the Registry of Deeds. I registered the property with the government of Newfoundland. It's all in my name with the government. I've been forever bringing in paperwork to the town of Marystown. They requested a copy of the will. They requested a copy of the deed, the survey. I brought everything up to them. And somebody else took over this job position. And I went in, to touch base, see if they had anything done for me. All the paperwork I brought in, they couldn't find it. There was no record of anything. But still now, they took my money. I paid the $15,000 in back taxes, and I owed him $0. And I own the property according to the government of Newfoundland, but the town of Marystown, I won't get into any details with the people that's there working or any names or anything, but the town manager this morning, this paperwork was supposed to be, like every week I go in, they'll tell me, come back after the council meeting on Tuesday. And this has been going on since July. Just so happened back in July that who's now our mayor was there trying to get something straightened up, and he was there when I was requesting this back in July, and since he's been elected, he's been trying to help me out. But I went in this morning, sat down with the town manager, and I requested this paperwork. They told me they were going to have it last Thursday. I gave them a few extra days. I came in this morning. He said, no, we didn't do it for you, and it got to go before the next council meeting, next time. I said, but you told me December 2nd this was all going to be looked after. Yeah, we missed it. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, now I'm going to sit here and wait until you can get me the paperwork. And he jumped up out of his desk, Patty. He came at me. He told me to get the F out of his office right now before he threw me out. And I need to get a hold of somebody with municipal affairs or something to deal with this person, because I got lots of business to do at the town of Marystown, and I got thrown out of there this morning for requesting paperwork that I've been requesting for months and months and months. And I didn't say anything out of the way to anyone other than the fact that I was going to sit and wait for the paperwork. And he got totally irate with me and pretty well threw me out of the town council office.
Yikes. For starters, you should indeed go to municipal affairs, but I'd also get some guidance from municipalities, Newfoundland and Labrador, MNL. They might put you onto the right track for exactly how you should deal with this issue, because I wouldn't know the specific process, but I bet you someone at MNL can help you out.
MNL, okay. Yeah, Patty, I don't know what to be doing because, I'm trying to purchase a parcel of land also from the town, and I got a few things going here regarding to upcoming housing and development and stuff like that. And for whatever reason, I don't know what they got against me up there or whatever, but I cannot get anything done. And it seems like when I comes in there, they hate to see me come, but they will not give me the paperwork that I'm requesting. And I mean, I paid, they took me money, Paddy. They got $15,000 out of me. I paid it off so that I could purchase this other parcel of land conjoining on to it, right?
Yeah, look, even if someone has some sort of personal beef with a resident or a taxpayer, whatever, the administration of the municipality, the administration of provincial affairs, that's your responsibility. We all have to just sort of shelve our personal beefs, we'll call it, and put those aside and get the business attended to, period. It's as simple as that. And I mean, professional decorum should be expected and demanded when you deal with someone who's being paid by the public purse in particular. Now also I would include the private sector there, but especially when you're being paid by the public purse, that level of decorum should be across the board. You shouldn't have to hope for the best. So there's not a dispute resolution mechanism at MNL, but they're definitely going to be equipped to point you in the right direction about who you should speak to.
Well, I'd appreciate it, Paddy, because it seems like when I goes in there, it's we're going to do this, we're going to do that for you, and when you leave the office, forget about him type of thing. And I mean, it's not as if I'm trying to do anything in skullduggery or anything like that. I just paid them $15,000. I brought the registry of deeds saying the government of Newfoundland says I own the property, but I can't understand. There's no. I phoned Troy at MAA and explained to him what was going on. He told me that there's no reason why the town cannot change this over into your name. But they're stating that it got to go to MAA first, and he told me that the town is the one that notifies them of the name change. And he actually got on the horn and spoke to him and asked him, I think the process you're explaining to Mr. Hillier is backwards. And when I spoke to him after, he told me, no. He said she's well aware of that they got to make the name change first. And like I said, Paddy, I went in there to get that paper this morning and sat down in his office. I wasn't there no more than 1 minute, and he got totally irate, cursing, swearing at me. And I mean, anybody else in that type of position, I've been general foreman, I've been foreman on big jobs, and anybody conducts themselves in that manner towards anybody, personnel, or anything of the such, they're gone.
It's probably the right place for them to be, is gone. Andy, appreciate the time. Listen, do me a favor. If you figure out through MNL or the Department of Municipal Affairs about what the process might be to address the situation, let me know, will you?
Yes, yeah, and I'd appreciate it if anybody hired in the town manager from the town of Marystown could give me a call back so I could put in a complaint, because apparently he's the highest in command there. So I'd like to definitely put in a formal complaint.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And keep me in the loop. Let me know how this all shakes out.
All right, thank you, Paddy. Appreciate your time.
Anytime, Andy. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Yeah, I mean, the frustrations bubble over, people get emotional, and yes, if you're dealing with someone in the private sector, they owe you courteous, professional addressing your concern, but it makes me feel like it's even more incumbent on someone working off the public purse to, shelve your emotions, do your job. Let's get a break in. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 1. Caller, you're on the air.
Morning, Patty. How are you today?
Doing okay, thank you. How about you?
Oh, not too bad. Just got a bit of information for your last caller. Municipalities, Newfoundland, Labrador is absolutely a great resource for him to reach out to, but some basic information. The province has introduced the Towns and Local Service Districts Act, which governs how elected officials and staff must conduct themselves. They also have the Code of Conduct Act and the Code of Ethics Act, which also further gives us guidelines on how we have to behave when dealing with the public. So your callers should definitely have a read through those. And every community should also have a mechanism by which they can conduct a formal complaint. It'll go to the town clerk, who then has to bring it to council's attention. It's a bit of a process. They have to do an internal investigation, and it's up to council who makes that decision whether or not the complaint is valid.
Can you give us some examples of what the legislation says insofar as code of conduct goes?
Well, you have to maintain that professional demeanor. For example, when dealing with the public, I don't have it here in front of me, so I can't really get into details. I don't have it off the top of my head. I don't want to give the wrong information. But the Code of Conduct Act is readily available online. He can download it, peruse it, print it, highlight what he needs.
Yeah, and I would imagine it's pretty basic stuff.
Yeah, well, conducting yourself professionally, not cursing and swearing at the public, is pretty basic day-to-day operations.
Yep. And I would imagine it has things to do with, for instance, not conducting or being involved with any policy where you see yourself enriching yourself financially speaking. Those just general terms, right?
Well, yeah, conflict of interest is a big part of all three pieces of legislation. It really is, and they've changed the definition a little bit in how you conduct you have to express if you're in conflict when it comes to any type of business. But the core principle is still there. You cannot conduct any business in which you have a personal interest.
As members of staff at the council level, do you get code of conduct training?
Absolutely. You have to get that training every year.
I think that makes all the sense in the world.
Training. Yep, and there's so much that's accessible through municipal affairs and other government offices, like the ATIP office just put off training and is currently doing sessions around the islands in person, and they're going to be doing more online.
That's good. It's helpful information. Do you work in that setting? Just curious.
Yeah, I'm involved in municipal politics.
Okay. I appreciate the information. I guess if I had to think a little clearer, there would have been absolutely some reference to a code of conduct when I was speaking with Andy, but I guess that's why I put him on to municipalities, Newfoundland and Labrador, because they'd have much more readily available answers as to process and what he should expect next and what he should include in a formal complaint. So, yeah, and I'm glad you filled in some of those blanks for me this morning.
There's another organization that he might also want to reach out to. Now, MNL has an incredible staff, and they're very knowledgeable. Some of them may actually recognize my voice, but we'll leave that there. But PMA is another great organization that they govern municipal administrators, so clerks and CAOs and town managers.
What's the acronym stand for?
Professional municipal administrators.
Okay. I don't know if I've ever even heard of that organization, but I'm glad I can add that to my mental Rolodex as well.
They're another great organization with good staff.
Helpful information, caller. I'm glad you made time for the show.
Have a great day, Patty.
You too. All the best.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. That was good. I've never heard of PMA, but I'll put that in my mental filing cabinet. Let's go to line number 2. Bill, you're on the air.
Yeah, is this me?
That's you, if you're Bill.
Yeah, that's me, yeah. Patty, I heard your preamble this morning.
Yep.
I called yesterday, I think, about the Outer Ring Road.
Yep.
And I said there's different rules applied to the Outer Ring Road than the rest of the Trans-Canada Highway.
You did.
Yes, I did, and I guess I stand by that. And I think the rules, there's a bunch of rules, but the ultimate rule are the signage on the highway, I think. It tells you how fast to go. And then they have, on the Outer Ring portion, there's overhead signage that tells you different lanes and tells you where those different lanes go. And So that's what I mean, like different rules apply for different sections of highway. So nowhere on the stretch of the section of the Trans-Canada that we call the Outer Ring is there a sign saying that you're expected to keep right except to pass.
Yeah,
Nowhere.
I was trying to even just think in my mind's eye about how frequently we would see one of those signs on the highway, say, past the Seal Cove turnoff. And I think I only kind of recall seeing those signs when there are new vehicles coming on, so they've come out some sort of on-ramp, and then you'll see a sign quite likely there. But I don't even know how many of those signs would be between here and Port aux Basques, to be honest. I don't know, and I haven't counted them, nor am I going to, but yeah.
Yeah, they used to be around, but you don't see them. That's right, you don't see them anymore. But I'm making the point, you don't see them on the Outer Ring, but if you go further on the highway, say west, say past say the big cloverleaf, that number 2 connects up with number 1, the Pitts Memorial, or if you go past that, then they have signage that says, I think it's slower traffic, keep right, or something like that. Something. So it's all relative. It doesn't say keep right except to pass, but they got a new sign saying slower traffic, keep right, which I think it's ambiguous at best, right? But that's the only sign they're saying that. Now, if you drive on, I don't know if you've noticed, but if you look at the overhead sign now say if you're going east, and if you come to the overhead sign before, say, the Portugal Cove interchange, I think or maybe it's after the Portugal Cove interchange, but it tells you, say, if you're going to Pleasantville, get in the left lane. If you're going to the Torbay exit, then get into center lane, and it tells you. And if you're going west, there's overhead signage, and this is what I'm saying. These are the rules of the road, or I guess guidelines, or whatever. And if you're going west, the left lane, it's there's an arrow pointing down into the left lane, and it says TCH West, and the right lane has an arrow pointing down, and it tells you, maybe Allendale turn off or Team Gouju Highway or something like that, because you should be in the right lane if you're going to be exiting. So so what prompted me to call this morning is in your preamble. I think you said somebody sent you a long text about the HTA, or they said they did a lot of they sent you a lot of information, and I got the impression that you were convinced that keep right except to pass applies to the Outer Ring Road.
Well, so says the Highway Traffic Act, and this one fellow went through painstaking detail in an extremely long email about just this topic. And I'll be honest, I don't even look at the signs on the stretch of the Outer Ring Road that I use all the time, because I know where I'm going. I know where my exit is. I know how to get on the Gouju, so I don't really look at the signs necessarily, but I suppose now into the future I will make a point of acknowledging what the signs do or don't say.
Maybe going on, to home today, I tried to send you an email with the pictures of the different signs.
I'll have a look.
I don't know, just not enough storage on my phone or something like that. I don't know, it wouldn't work. But I'm just, see, it's an urban highway, and once you get past, say, the Route 2 interchange, then it becomes, I think it's considered maybe a rural highway. And even if you drive on the Team Gouju Highway, which is a divided highway, there's signs declaring which lane you're supposed to be in, depending on where you're going. So and I've heard it said from my son did a driving course with I think it used to be called Safety Council, but I asked him to ask the instructor, and the instructor told him that because the highway was in an urban environment, that those lanes are driving lanes. So, like, if I'm out in the left lane, or the lane closest to the median, and I'm traveling, and what I'm required to travel is, it tells me I'm supposed to go no more than 100, and I feel comfortable at 100 under good conditions, then I shouldn't be bullied by somebody who's tailgating me. Probably, I don't know, I guess they're trying to get me to move over, or maybe they think I'm not going fast enough or something like that. But and I think that's what probably leads to a lot of accidents.
Well, the tailgating. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. The tailgating is kind of a standalone issue. I would suggest that's just terrible.
I think it's related. I really do. I really believe it's related to it. I think there's a lot of people that believe that on the outer ring you've got to stay right except to pass, and they feel that they're passing me at 120 or 130 or something, and they feel that I should move out of the way. And I feel that and most times I will get out for my own safety. I will get out of it, but what it does is cause congestion in the right-hand lane for cars that are trying to merge or exiting.
Okay. All right, Bill, I got to get to the news break, but I appreciate your time.
Okay, thanks, Patty.
Stay right unless you're passing.
No, I don't agree with you.
Okay.
No, I don't. Okay, no, it's not. It's not.
Okay.
It's not true. It's not true. There. No, I don't. It's not right. No.
Thanks, Bill.
No. Okay, bye.
Appreciate your time. Bye-bye. Let's get a break for the news. Don't go away.
You're listening to a rebroadcast of VOCM Open Line. Have your say by calling 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626 and listen live weekday mornings at 9 a.m.
Welcome back to the show. As we spoke about at the top of the program, some of the key operations of the provincial court have now been suspended. Some details as to why coming this afternoon when the Justice Minister, Helen Conway-Anhamer, fills us in. But right now, join us on line number one is Lynn Moore, a partner at Morris Moore Law Firm. Good morning, Lynn. You're on the air. Hi, Lynn.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing okay this morning. How about you?
I'm good, thanks.
Now, we'll point out right away that this doesn't necessarily impact you. You predominantly work in Supreme Court. But when you heard that these operations were being paused for some unknown reason, your thoughts?
I was very shocked because it's a major step for the court to take to cease operations in several areas because you know, the rule of law requires that people have a right to access the courts to protect their rights and to ensure that their rights are enshrined. If you can't go to court, then it is a problem for a functioning democracy. And I heard the minister's response and her written response, and that she had said, well, you know, it's up to the court what they do. And that is true. The court was in the position where they had to make this decision. But this decision is, in my view, really a monetary one. And it's the government that supplies the funds for the courts. And they can only do so much with what they're given. You know, I've been working in the justice system for a long time now, like more than 30 years. And I have seen that the justice system really is the poor cousin of government in terms of how the funding goes, the criminal justice system especially. The provincial court does the lion's share of all the criminal work in the province. Only a very small number of those cases go on to Supreme Court. And in the outer areas, they do a lot of family law as well. And small claims court is an important thing for people who have been perhaps, had shoddy work done on their house, or their car bill was ridiculous and they didn't agree to pay that amount. That's where they go to get those disputes resolved. And if you can't do that and you're already struggling financially, it's a real blow to not be able to enforce your rights civilly in the areas where the court has cut those services.
Of course. And so to read between the lines, when you talk about funding, because you're absolutely right, this just really feels like a staffing issue, no more, no less.
Well, that's what I believe, is that it's an issue of not enough sheriff's officers and perhaps not enough court officers behind the scenes. You'll recall that not that long ago, they had to close public access to one part of the provincial court in St. John's. They have the metal detectors and the x-ray like they do in the airport to screen people as they go through, and they had to shut one of those down because they didn't have enough sheriff's officers to staff those entryways. And, you know, this is where the most violent people in our community end up, and security is a very important issue for everybody involved in the justice system.
I don't know who this particular emailer was, but pretty much downplaying the story, saying, well, you'll still have your case heard, you just might have to go to a different community. But look, access to justice is a pretty key cornerstone to the system.
It is a really important part of a functioning democracy, and you know, you will not necessarily have your case heard. Traffic matters. I heard on the radio that traffic matters are being put over to 2027. That is not going to comply with the Supreme Court of Canada's ruling on trial within a reasonable time in the Jordan decision. So if those cases really do not get heard until 2027, those people are going to have their charges dismissed because people have a right to trial within a reasonable time. And traffic enforcement really matters for public safety. Like, I know myself, when I've gotten a speeding ticket, it changes my behavior for quite a long time afterwards, because I don't want to get another one. And if people get it in their heads that there is going to be no enforcement, it's a serious issue. A lot of lives are lost on our roadways every year.
Yeah, it's absolutely a mindset. There's no doubt about it. Just quick, want to pick your brain on the whole Jordan issue. I mean, we understand the implications and access to timely justice. So 18 months in provincial court, 30 months in Supreme Court. It's changed everything. It's even changed how law enforcement operates. You know, they'll make an arrest, but they'll take their time before they swear the evidence, which starts the clock ticking. So with staffing issues, with some parts of the country with a shortage of judges, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts in the justice system. Do you think this is going to have to be revisited? Because we can't see a future where people who may indeed be guilty just run out of time and consequently they walk scot-free. So do you think we're on the right track, or do you think this will have to be revisited in the future?
Well, that's a really good question, and I can tell you that former Chief Justice McLaughlin gave a public speech after the Jordan decision had been in effect for a while, and she said that they did not imagine that the government would try to proceed on the same with the same allotment of resources that they had prior to Jordan. They thought the system would be infused with more judges, more courtrooms, more prosecutors, more legal aid lawyers, and that would be the only way the system would cope. And when they saw charges being withdrawn or not prosecuted, or impaired driving in British Columbia has gone to a ticket offense in some instances, they were completely shocked. So, you know, back in the early 90s, there was a similar decision on, it was called Askov, and the ceiling there was 8 months. And the court did reverse itself after that when numerous charges were withdrawn then because they couldn't meet that ceiling. But they seemed pretty certain in this decision, and there have been appeals since where the Crown has argued that, you know, we really need to revisit this, and the court has stuck to their guns. So we're either going to have to prosecute a lot less people, or we're going to have a lot more prosecutors and courtrooms and judges and defense lawyers.
And seemingly that's not where we're at, realistically speaking, in this province, or I would suggest the rest of the country. Lynn, anything else on any of these fronts before we say goodbye this morning?
Nope, that's it.
Good to have you on. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Lynn Moore should partner at Morris Moore Law Firm. So, of course, if the Supreme Court has, you know, rejected or denied appeals based on the Jordan ruling, you hope it's not a matter of just standing their ground on matters of principle, because if we're unable to, with the shortage of officers and other court employees or court staff, prosecutors, legal aid attorneys and otherwise, then, you know, principle be damned if we're talking about potential criminals walking free because of delays in the criminal justice system. Anyway, I don't know. Let's get a break in. Don't go away. Welcome back. Let's go to line number 3. Walter, you're on the air.
Good morning, Paddy, and a very Merry Christmas, sir, to you and your family and your listeners and co-workers. I hope you have a great Christmas, sir.
Thank you very much, and the same to you.
Paddy, I wanted to speak just on the Muse Centre just for 10 seconds or so. Do I have one more second just to mention one thing before I get to that?
Yeah, lots of time. Go ahead.
God love you. Snow clearing here in the city of St. John's. So it's good, it's bad, it's indifferent. I mean, it's just the way it is. We have the most beautiful city in the world, and we have the worst winter weather you could ever imagine because we always get that, the snow, then the freezing rain, and then the rain, and then back to freezing rain, back to snow, etc. The majority of the larger municipalities here in the province implemented December 1st parking ban. I know there's one municipality that implements it November 1st, which might be a little bit early, but here in the city, we wait until the first week of January to, put the official one in and say, if we get snow, we might put a ban on. We may not put a ban on. It's so confusing. And here in the city, cow paths that we turned into roads. It's important that when we do get snow like we did yesterday downtown, there was hardly anything where we are here on the Cornwall Avenue area. We got 20 centimeters of snow, if not more, because the rain started to pat it down. So it would have been great. I think it's great for the operators, so less stress on them to just be able to clear a clean street. Even better for people who have a vehicle and they come home. If people are parked on the road, they have 22 feet of street to have to clear before they get into their driveway. Not to mention, I don't know, I have no numbers on it, but I can't imagine that we haven't clipped a few vehicles over the years to cause damage that are parked on the roads that we had to pay for. So I don't know why the city is so reluctant to just put in a December 1st parking ban across the board. That's it. You got to find a place to park in a month anyway. So I don't know why they won't put in the December ban. The December 1st ban makes sense to me, makes economic sense to me, and I just wanted to throw that out. I know folks want to go visit and Christmas and all that kind of stuff, but everybody in the province wants to visit, and they have a ban December 1st. So it's all about what's best for most people, not what's best for just a few.
Yeah, that was long the thought, is that delay the full-on parking ban until after the holiday season. Whether or not that's the right thing or the wrong thing, I don't know, but that's generally been the sentiment and the rationale as to why we wait till the 3rd of January?
Yes, you're right, absolutely. I would say December 1st is, I wouldn't mind at all being able to come home and have a clean street. Again, people have to, if you want to go and have a party during Christmas, there's Uber was never around. We have a lot of taxis on the road, so folks have a lot of ways to get around during the Christmas season. And of course, the Christmas season is 3 or 4 days, and December's 31 days. But that was just my thought, to just make it easier for the operators, and especially when we get all that darn rain. It'd be nice for the plows to be able to push that snow back to clear out the storm drains, because a lot of the reasons why we get so much flooding is because the snow wasn't be able to be pushed back. So push the snow back, get rid of the water, and just have clear streets. But that was just my thought, that's all.
Sure.
Patty, just very quickly, the Muse Centre had some youth programs that will go on, and I think until the 13th on a Saturday and the 7th of December on a Sunday. At first, the city had said it was 18 plus, but they changed that, thankfully. And a lot of the youth that got off the streets and got off their phones and were welcomed into the Muse Centre for $2 to go in and kick the ball around and throw the basketball around. It's been an absolute amazing success. And a couple of parents and a guardian called me and said, is it possible that you could just go on and speak to Patty and hope that the city will extend it or make it a permanent thing? So I said, absolutely, I'd love to do that, because it is a great idea. And sometimes we wonder why our youth go off the rails sometimes. Give them something to do. They're in there, having exercise, and they sleep better, and they're not on their phones at 12 o'clock in the night. They're looking at the insides of their eyelids because they're exhausted from the exercise they got. And I'll tell you one quick little thing, and I don't want to poke a sleeping dog, but one guardian said, my son was having a problem with another individual, and they were always giving each other a stink eye in school. And lo and behold, they went both there to the Muse, throwing the ball around and volleyball and basketball. They're best buddies now. They had no idea why they were beefing with each other, and now, what are you doing? I'm going to the Muse. Let's go to the Muse. They're very close together. So I think that the city should implement it and put it as a permanent thing. Anything we can do to assist our youth, especially in these days, I think is a good thing, Patty.
Absolutely. You know what they say about idle hands, right? So, yeah, I'm glad that you put that forward here this morning. I don't know how that's going to land at the city council level or at the city level, period, but I'm glad you brought a call this morning. Anything else you want to say while we have you, Walter?
No, sir. Just have a safe Merry Christmas, and let's have a wonderful New Year.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Just before we get to the news, and this is an American story, but I think it captivated a lot of news followers. So you know the whole pipe bomber from January 6th put these explosive devices outside both the DNC and RNC headquarters in Washington. Apparently they made an arrest. So all these years later, amazing that they were unable to go through it. Now the story reads pretty vague at this moment in time because the arrest was just made today. Is they just simply re-examined the evidence they've already had in hand and came up with an identification. Some Virginia guy has been arrested for planting those 2 pipe bombs. The reason why this is an actual story for me is when it takes so long for something so serious to be figured out, an arrest to be made, and yet to go through the courts to be proven actually guilty here, but it came with endless theories, endless conspiracy theories about who did it and the political motivation and up and down the line. So I guess if you want to tackle it a little bit later on with some sort of cable news update, or my choice is to read about it, is apparently there's been an arrest made. So pretty serious stuff. Let's check in on the Twitter box. We're VOCM Open Line. You know what to do. Email address is openline@vocm.com. When we come back after the newscast, we're going to check in with the good folks out at Marble Mountain. They have indeed put pretty deep discounts on their season's passes, largely because the 3 lifts are now down to 1 lift at Marble, and then whatever else we can figure out to talk about with that crowd with, and then whatever you want to talk about right after this. Don't go away.
The Tim Powers Show. Join the conversation weekday afternoons at 4 p.m. on your VOCM.
Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 3. Caller, you're on the air.
Morning, Patty. How you doing?
Doing okay. How about you?
That's right. Just wanted to call about the overhead signs on the highway.
Okay.
I worked with the department for 18 years, snow plowing and road maintenance, putting up signs. The signs are meant for, we'll say, navigational assistance. I'll take the example of Team Goodyear. You come on Team Goodyear, the first ramp to exit is Kelsey. The other 2 lanes are identified both as Kenmount Road. Understand? Every exit to a ramp is identified in the far right. The right lane itself, what we'll call the slow lane, is identifying the next exit. The left lane is always identifying west or the end of the road, depending on what highway you're on. It's not to tell you where to go. It's to assist you in navigating. If you're going to jump on the outer ring off Logerdale Road and you're going to Port aux Basques, are you going to stay in the left lane the whole way to Port aux Basques? You know, it's common sense got to jump in there somewhere as well, you know.
Absolutely.
Under the Highway Traffic Act, if you want a very interesting read, you'll find the information on all that kind of stuff. But you can be fined for impeding traffic. And if that's, if you're going to stay in the left lane doing 100 kilometers and I'm going to be in the right lane doing 100 kilometers, you're impeding traffic. It's as simple as that. So, I would tailgate. I've been tailgated. You're not making any friends if you're hogging the left lane that way. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think the popular consensus out there is that keep right except to pass. And the overhead signs, as you point out, they really feel like as much about navigating as opposed to telling me what I have to do on the road. So that all makes sense to me.
Yeah, no, that's the purpose of them. People have their own thoughts, and then it becomes a reality. Because that caller, a few callers back, I think the same guy as yesterday, was saying, it's telling me, I think, to stay, I'm going west, so I say, so it's his thought. It's become his reality, but isn't, in fact, reality. So, just for that caller and others like the Highway Traffic Act explains it all, but I would like to make a suggestion in regards to all the other pet peeves on the highways, on the roadways, as you refer to. it'd be great to get like the boys from Newfoundland Safety Council or something like that. If you can get a show on, get them on for an hour or so to take some calls. It'll reach a long ways and clear up a lot of issues, I'd suggest.
Yeah, absolutely. We have invited law enforcement to come on and set the record straight once and for all, because this should not be complicated. This should not be confusing.
No, and there's, newer and newer, more and more people are coming on the road. We got a lot of more people from different countries and whatnot moving into the province and stuff, and they all got different rules and how they're used to driving, if they're used to driving, so it's all beneficial. Accurate information is education,
Absolutely. I'm glad you made time for the show. Thanks for the call.
No problem. Have a good one.
You too, pal. Bye-bye. All right, let's keep rolling. Go to line number 1. Say good morning to the general manager out of Marble Mountain. That's Richard Cormier. Good morning, Richard. You're on the air.
Good morning, Patty. How you doing this morning?
Doing okay. How about you?
Oh, fantastic. We got some fresh snow down. Everything looks good.
Yeah, there's one group that loves a bit of snow. The skiers, the snowboarders, skidooers, and snowshoers, or whatever the case may be. Richard, so you're down from 3 lifts to 1. What's the reason for the other 2 lifts not being operable this year? Is it about cost, or is it about being able to source replacement parts because of the age? What is it?
Yeah, it's a little bit on a lot of both, I guess, Patty. The lifts are, they kind of reached the end of their life expectancy. One of the lifts, they haven't made parts for that lift in almost 20 years. So we're struggling with getting those parts in place to get it operable.
So as a result, some pretty deep discounts for season passes. How are they selling?
Season pass sales right now have been fantastic. We're picking up all kinds of new members. People are buying passes every day. The snow really helps. The discounts in the passes were as much about getting people back to loving the organization as are about the being down to a single lift, and it's really about getting kids and families out enjoying the winter again.
We love going to Marble. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, though, all the same, isn't it, Richard? Because more passes, maybe more skiers if the weather cooperates. We'll get into the weather here now in a second, but at the same time, down to 1 lift may indeed present a problem for folks at the hill, skiers, snowboarders, and management alike. What do you think?
No, I really don't think that list can move, well over 2,100 people an hour. So it's certainly more than capable of moving through our demand. Anybody who's ever been away and skied at larger resorts, you could wait 40, 45, 50 minutes at the base of a hill trying to get up on the list. On our busiest day, people are still only waiting 4, 5, 6 minutes.
Yeah, it is one of the pleasures of skiing at Marble, because we lived out west, and if we went to Sunshine or all the way to Whistler or what have you, they've got a huge operation of lifts, and you can wait a long, long time. So let's get into weather. About how much snow do you have at this moment in time?
On the base of the lodge, we got 10 or 15, 20 centimeters in the last couple of days. We've got 10 or 15 coming. On the top of the hill, we're close to 2 feet of snow. I couldn't get the pickup truck over the top of the hill yesterday without getting stuck. So,
what do you need for a base to open reasonably?
It really depends on whether we're using natural snow or snow-making snow. It's more about getting a complete coverage from top to bottom, but we'll with 25 or 30 centimeters to a couple of feet. That's usually what our goal is.
I don't want to get too far into your own business model necessarily, but it's been a rough couple of years regarding weather, and weather is everything. Whether it be the nice weather conditions, but it's obviously snow. Is there a number of operational days you need to have meaningful operations to be able to keep the wolf away from the door, pay the bills?
Yeah, obviously, the longer we're open, the better off we are, for sure. What we are here in this little valley is we're really sort of an economic engine for the winter tourism. For every $1 that's spent here at the ski hill, there's somewhere between $6, $8, $9 left in the community. So, what we do is we put $7, $8, $9, $10 million back into the local economy here on the West Coast. So obviously the longer we're open, the better, and the more support we have within the community, the better. But we really can't control the weather.
No, of course not. You know, I hear plenty of people making the argument, and obviously these people don't live on the West Coast, in and around Steadybrook, is it's time for the government to get out of the ski hill business, especially given some of the sketchy seasons we've had in the recent past. But you've made the case right there. Every dollar spent at Marble results in more money being spent elsewhere in the community, so it is an economic driver. Far too many people just don't latch onto that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Listen, we're even more than an economic driver. We're the reason that doctors and nurses decide to move to the West Coast. I mean, it's part of the lifestyle. Us and the local the cross-country ski parks. I mean, it's really the lifestyle that people are looking for, and that's one of the things we can help provide.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So insofar as the future goes, we know the government's tried to offload their operations at Marble Mountain, even though it's a standalone corporation that operates Marble. But any communication with the government about that process? Because there's been really very limited uptake on the RFPs. So how does that conversation sound between yourselves and government these days?
Well, I mean, we're obviously with the change in the provincial government. There's some more conversations that will be had, I guess, when everyone gets straightened away and tailed out, as they would say. And you know, we're going to continue here to operate, you know, from a community standpoint and get people out enjoying the winter and loving the outdoors and getting kids some physical fitness and some recreation. And if we can, you know, if someone's interested in owning a great ski resort, I'm sure the government will be interested in time to come.
Richard, do you do formal tracking of visitors from outside the province? Because it's probably the best held in Atlantic Canada.
Yeah, well, we do look at different numbers and different metrics for groups that are coming in. I wouldn't have any of those numbers, but you know, historically there was always a great group that used to come from Toronto, and you know, in the Humber Valley Resort days, we would have planes coming from across the ocean in Europe. We have a big portion of people come from Halifax every year, so.
Well, Europeans must love it, because if anyone's ever skied in Europe, the hills are tight and they are packed. Not like the big wide runs you have at Marble.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, the gem of this place is that we're, you know, we've got lots of room and lots of space, and it's a big resort for Atlantic Canada. And you know, it's a beautiful little gem here on the West Coast that we need people to remember is here.
You know, you talk about the skiers and snowboarders and the need for snow and the weather to cooperate. Let's talk a little bit about what's been done in the recent past to broaden the seasons, the shoulder seasons, more offerings into the summer, for instance, so that it's not just reliant on good snow.
Yeah, I mean, listen, anybody who's ever been in this massive, beautiful building we have here, I mean, we have probably one of the best wedding events anywhere on the island. So, that conferences, weddings, they really are an important piece to our longevity here at.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we used to ski at Marmot Basin, and you talk about the chalet there versus Marble. Marble's like going to Colorado versus going to the Rocky Mountains right there, Marmot and Jasper.
Yeah, I mean, we have a beautiful facility. It's massive. And it was really modeled, you know, when it was built 30 years ago, it was really modeled after some of those resorts down through the states. I mean, it's a beautiful, constructed building. It's
very similar to the main chalet at Beaver Creek.
And if I'm not mistaken, Beaver Creek might have been one of the resorts they actually visited in the late 80s, early 90s, looking for some ideas.
Cool. Last question. At full complement at the height of the season, how many people work at Marble?
Oh, you know, we're somewhere between, like 110 to 120, 130 people at times. That includes some of our part-time and temporary casual call-in staff. So, yeah, we're a big employer here in the West Coast.
Fingers crossed for a great season. We'll see you sometime in February.
Fantastic. Can't wait to have you out, and we'll do it again. We'll let you know when things are on the move here.
Look forward to it. Appreciate your time. Thanks for doing it.
All right. Thanks, Patty.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Richard Cormier, their general manager at Marble. He just painted out the economics case for government to not be too quick to walk away, because in the big scheme of things, in an $11 billion budget, that $1 million is, you know, not insignificant money, but nor is it breaking the back. Let's get our final break of the morning in. When we come back, still a segment left for you. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. While David's sorting out that caller, emails asking questions about ploughing cul-de-sacs. I don't live on the cul-de-sac, so I'm not entirely sure, but it's the approach taken to make sure that as much snow as possible ends up in the middle of the cul-de-sac versus ends up in your driveway. So the thought is maybe it's a counterclockwise move required. I don't know, but if you live in a cul-de-sac and want to share your experience, you're welcome to do it. Let's go to line number 1. Ron, you're on the air.
Hi, Paddy. You know anything about the postal strike if it might end soon?
Well, they're back to rotating work, so the mail is flowing.
Oh, yeah, it's flowing, is it?
Yeah, apparently. I got mail delivered yesterday.
Okay. Because I'm waiting for stuff for, motor registration and stuff. I'm waiting on a GST check since October. But anyway, it's good to hear that it's flowing. Okay, bye. Thanks for that info.
Yeah, the mail is indeed flowing. Whether or not they're back to full capacity, I really don't know what the rotating strike, I think is how they refer to it, is working. But yeah, the mail is flowing.
Okay, thanks, buddy.
No problem at all. Bye-bye. Which does bring in the unpredictability and how quick letters and parcels are being delivered. I'm really not sure. Parcels are always going to be a snag, and people talk about the black hole that is Dieppe, where so much gets held up. So I don't know how quick things are moving, but they are indeed moving. Mail's been arriving at our super mailbox. You really do wonder about the future of Canada Post. The current way it's structured is unsustainable, obviously. They've already lost $1 billion this year. So for the longest while, they used to stand on their own 2 feet. They didn't need any government intervention until a couple of years ago, where they absolutely needed $1 billion plus. So into the future, whether it means some of the rural post offices closing, whether there's a complete stop to door-to-door delivery, I don't know. But those are the recommendations made at the federal government level. And I don't think anybody in the country has the appetite. Well, let me restart that one. For folks who rely on Canada Post in full, because the courier simply will not go that distance, what they call the last mile of service, those people are crossing their fingers, hoping for a long-term, successful, viable Canada Post. I would imagine the bulk of the rest of the country just doesn't want it to come out of taxpayers' pockets. Even when Canada Post has now been given the authority to set stamp prices, what do you think is going to happen? All of a sudden, the price of sending a letter or a parcel through Canada Post is going to be way out of whack, because there's only so many revenue streams that they can take advantage of or avail of, and one of them is stamp prices. It used to be required government approval for that, but that's not the case in the future. So, good question about Canada Post and how predictable it's going to be during the holiday season. A couple of quick ones. So I was asked this morning why we didn't mention the fact that Abby Newhook has scored her second professional goal. Well, I suppose we could mention every time she scores. But yeah, she sniped her second last night. And there's some excitement brewing, even though I think it might be premature, is that there's an entrepreneur in the city of Montreal who's doing what? Exploring a bid to bring the Expos back. Now, they're actually looking for your input, I guess, just to gauge public interest, public support, but that's a long, long way from being anything close to real. Number one, I don't even know what the appetite of Major League Baseball itself is to return to the city of Montreal, even though there was a pretty proud history of the Expos, but they're actually exploring it. And, of course, that comes with the need for, a ballpark, which they do not have, that, one up to current MLB standards. But yeah, there's a few people sent me the email and the Google document looking for feedback about the possibility for the Montreal Expos to be a thing again into the future. It was a real shame when they left period to go to Washington. They're now the Washington Nationals. And remember, they had their eyes firmly set on a pennant when the Major Leagues went on strike back in 1994. They really had the team for it too. They had the record going into that portion of the season when unfortunately got interrupted by a strike. So yeah, there you go. And one more thing on the rules of the road business. Look, it's a real shame that there's any confusion out there or contradictions out there about the appropriate way to approach operating your vehicle on any section of the highway, including the Outer Ring Road. So I'm not the authority on the Highway Traffic Act, but the people who have broken it down pretty concisely for me, it seems to be, to me, that there's no such thing as an urban highway versus a highway anywhere else. And that if you get on the Outer Ring Road at Logie Bay Road and you make your way to Port aux Basques, the same rules apply throughout. So in an effort to clear up any confusion, which may indeed lead to some collisions on the highway, and that's probably very, very true, we'll get someone from law enforcement to come on and set the record straight once once and for all. And hopefully at that point, regardless of how I think about it or how anyone else thinks about it who may differ with me, maybe, just maybe, when someone with authority and full understanding of the rules can just set it straight, because this should not be a thing. We should be able to figure out stuff like that. And since I brought it up, maybe it was yesterday, day before, my own personal pet peeves of driving around town. Again, you never know what's going to pique the interest of emailers in this case, but we are bombarded with them. Everything from how people operate in parking lots and how merge lanes work and not using your indicator and all the obvious classic ones you can think of. One of the most popular, since I mentioned it, is people parking in the fire lanes. Like, I've never stopped and made an issue out of it with anyone parked in a fire lane. I don't have the brain capacity and or the patience for doing anything like that, even though you see it every now and then. People, will walk past a yellow Honda Civic parked in the fire lane to be told, that's a pretty cool fire truck you got there, when it's just a wisecrack. All right, final check-in of the Twitter box for VOCM Open Line. You know what to do. Email address is openline@vocm.com. But my favorite is when you join us live on the program, when we will indeed pick up this conversation again tomorrow morning, right here on VOCM and Big Land FM's Open Line. On behalf of the producer, David Williams, I'm your host, Paddy Daly. Have yourself a safe, fun, happy day. We'll talk in the morning. Bye-bye.